This tragic case stemmed from blind love, leading to unforgivable actions committed by a domineering man who cared only about his own feelings. The incident occurred at Shek Kip Mei Estate. This was the first public housing estate completed in Hong Kong and was put into use in 1954. Most of the residents in this area lived in dilapidated buildings. The living conditions in the area were extremely poor, and the population was overcrowded. However, this was not the main reason the government decided to build public housing at that time. On Christmas Day, December 25, 1953, a massive fire broke out at the wooden shantytown of Shek Kip Mei, destroying the homes of more than 58,000 people in just one night. As a result, the government began constructing affordable housing. 50 years later, on January 10, 1994, a crime occurred in a public housing block at Shek Kip Mei. An enraged man entered the HSBC branch located on the ground floor of the estate. He went straight to counter number 8 and caused a commotion, leaving the female employee and customers in the bank in a state of panic. The branch manager immediately stepped in to assess the situation. At that point, the female employee wrote down a phone number on a blank piece of paper and handed it to the man, who then left the bank, restoring calm. However, not long after, he became angry again and returned to confront the female employee. Hearing their conversation, many inferred that he had come to the bank looking for his wife. The female employee helplessly responded that she only had the phone number of the man's wife, but didn't know where she was and could not help. The man grew more furious, insulted her, and then stormed out. Why did this man come to the bank to look for his wife? What was the relationship between the female employee and his wife? This man was Zhu Baoguang, 32 years old. At the time, he worked as an interior decorator. His wife, AI, was 31 years old. They had been married and had 3 children together. However, their marriage was far from happy. Zhu Baoguang often professed that he loved his wife deeply, but paradoxically, he was not good at managing his emotions and always wanted to control her every move. As a result, whenever AI didn't act according to his wishes, he would beat her. AI resolved to leave home because of this, but out of concern for her young children, she accepted Zhu Baoguang's sincere apologies and returned home. Over the years, their relationship grew increasingly fractured to the point of near collapse. 3 days before the crime, specifically on January 7, 1994, AI left home again because she could no longer endure the situation. When Zhu Baoguang calmed down, he resorted to his usual tactics to try to bring AI back. However, no matter how many times he called her, AI didn't answer. 1 day passed, then 2 days, and Zhu Baoguang was unable to contact his wife. He tried calling AI's family, but they said she hadn't returned to them and didn't know where she had gone. Zhu Baoguang realized that this time AI was determined to leave him. He suspected the only place she might have gone was the home of her close friend Lu Mai. Knowing that AI deeply loved her children, Zhu Baoguang used his son's phone number to send a message, and to his surprise, it worked. When AI received the message from her son, even though she suspected it might be one of Zhu Baoguang's tricks, as a mother, she couldn't help but worry. She called Lu Mai to ask if anything had happened. At this point, Zhu Baoguang became certain that AI had gone to Lu Mai's house. Lu Mai was the female employee working at counter number 8 of the HSBC bank branch in Jishiwu Min, Shek Kip Mei. Little did she know that her kind actions would put her in danger. In reality, Lu Mai and AI had only known each other for a few months. Due to her job as an office worker at an interior design company, so AI often went to the bank to deposit checks. This was how she got to know Lu Mai. Moreover, since Lu Mai had recently bought a house in Shenzhen and sought interior design services from AI's company, they began talking more frequently. When AI left home, she asked Lu Mai if she could stay with her for a few days. Without hesitation, Lu Mai agreed. When Zhu Baoguang learned that AI was staying with Lu Mai, he decided to write a letter to AI. He also recorded a message and gave it to Lu Mai to pass on to AI, hoping for a slim chance to salvage their marriage. The letter was filled with sincerity, as he took full responsibility for his mistakes and expressed his desire for her to return home to their little family and start over. After writing the letter and recording his heartfelt message, Zhu Baoguang wanted to deliver the recording to Lu Mai immediately. However, he didn't know where she lived or her phone number. The only thing he knew was that Lu Mai worked at the HSBC bank branch in Jishiwu Min. Unfortunately, it was the weekend and the bank was closed on Saturday and Sunday, so he had to wait until Monday. On Monday, the 4th day since AI left home, and the day the tragic incident occurred, Zhu Baoguang drove to Jishiwu Min, Upon arrival, he realized he had forgotten the recording. Impatient by nature, he became furious and stormed into the bank, heading straight to Lu Mai's counter to demand answers. He insisted that she give him AI's phone number. Seeing his aggressive demeanor and to avoid disturbing other customers and colleagues, Lu Mai quickly handed him AI's phone number as mentioned earlier. This number was actually a connection line between AI and Lu Mai. To make a call, one had to enter the correct password. When Zhu Baoguang discovered this, he believed that Lu Mai was deliberately playing tricks on him to prevent his family from reuniting. Enraged, he returned to the bank a second time to confront her and demand to know her address. Confronted with his rudeness and temper, Lu Mai refused to disclose any information about AI. Frustrated, Zhu Baoguang left the bank for the second time, restoring peace to the establishment. At first, the bank staff thought the man would give up and not return. However, at 11:10 a.m. that same day, Zhu Baoguang came back to the HSBC branch for the third time. This time, he brought 2 cans of liquid and a bundle of newspapers. He stormed towards counter number 8, demanding to know why Lu Mai was hiding AI's whereabouts. Faced with his questions, Lu Mai, exhausted, chose to ignore him and politely asked him to leave. It's unclear whether it was Zhu Baoguang's excessive love for his wife or his frustration with Lu Mai's dismissive attitude, but he suddenly opened the 2 cans he had brought. One can was thrown directly at Lu Mai's counter, while the other was poured across the area in front of counter number 8. In an instant, the entire bank was filled with the strong smell of gasoline. Everyone began to realize that this deranged man was holding a newspaper and a matchstick. He yelled, demanding everyone leave the bank if they didn't want to die. Terrified people fled the bank in panic, except for one high school student who stood in front of a counter staring at him. The fire broke out in the customer area, where Zhu Baoguang ignited it. After the fire started, there were 2 escape options for the 13 employees inside. Either stay in the staff area or run through the flames to escape the burning scene. However, making this decision was not easy as gasoline spreads flames quickly. The blazing scene before them made it nearly impossible to stay calm. At the time, there was no automatic sprinkler system, and the 2 electronic gates and glass barriers used for security purposes could temporarily hold back the flames. As a result, the employees inside did not immediately attempt to escape the fire, but instead hid in the staff area, hoping that the electronic gates and glass barriers would hold until the firefighters arrived. However, the greatest threat they faced was not the flames themselves, but the carbon monoxide produced by the fire. Even a small amount of carbon monoxide could be fatal. The glass barriers could temporarily block the flames, but the thick smoke began seeping into the staff area through various gaps and was quickly drawn in through the air ventilation system from the burning area. The black smoke rapidly spread inside. At that point, Lu Mai and another colleague realized they could no longer stay there and decided to run outside. The staff area itself was not yet on fire, but the black smoke filled the area, making it pitch dark with extremely low visibility. It was nearly impossible to see anything directly in front of them. Struggling, Lu Mai and her colleague made their way to the main door. When they managed to open the first door, they found that the second door would not open. They decided to turn back, but the first door was no longer operable either. The reason was that the bank had a safety mechanism. When the power was cut, the electronic gates would cease to function. The bank's electrical system had been shut down due to the fire, leaving Lu Mai and her colleague trapped in a narrow space between the 2 doors. The black smoke thickened and the situation grew increasingly dire. Meanwhile, the other 11 employees had sought refuge in different areas. Some hid in the manager's office, some in sealed rooms, and others in the restroom. What would become of the 13 employees? Could they hold on until the firefighters arrived to rescue them? Meanwhile, after starting the fire, Zhu Baoguang quickly fled the scene. His clothes were already burning when he left. Upon seeing the police, he ran toward them and surrendered himself. 3 minutes after the firefighters arrived, they extinguished the flames and used fans to disperse the thick black smoke. Once the fire was put out, they entered the building and found that the staff area had not been burned. However, the firefighters knew that approximately 10 employees inside were in grave danger, as carbon monoxide poisoning was often the primary cause of death in such fires. Eventually, the firefighters located Lu Mai and her colleague trapped between the 2 doors. They safely guided them out of the building, which was nearly destroyed, and both received thorough medical care afterward. During the operation, the firefighters also successfully rescued the other employees trapped in various locations. Thanks to the swift and precise efforts of the firefighters, all 13 people trapped in the bank were rescued without any fatalities. Following the incident, authorities launched an investigation to determine the cause of the fire and to prosecute Zhu Beoguang, the arsonist, in accordance with the law. The bank also implemented additional safety measures to ensure future security. Interestingly, during interrogation, Zhu Beoguang claimed that as he fled in panic, he was mistakenly apprehended by the police, who suspected him of being the arsonist. He further claimed that his admission to starting the fire was due to fear and confusion in the aftermath of the blaze. Such a foolish excuse, however, did not fool the police. Nonetheless, successfully prosecuting Zhu Beoguang required both witnesses and physical evidence. The fire had severely damaged the bank's security camera system, and all surveillance footage was lost. The police were unable to recover the footage from the time of the incident. Fortunately, when Zhu Beoguang caused a commotion in the bank, there were many customers present. They had witnessed him carrying 2 cans of gasoline, newspapers, and a lighter, creating chaos in the bank. After the fire, police found 2 empty cans reeking of gasoline and some charred newspaper remnants. They also recovered Zhu Beoguang's fingerprints. The police then carried Zhu Beoguang's photo to nearby convenience stores and hardware shops to investigate whether anyone had seen him purchasing supplies. One store employee confirmed that this man had bought 2 cans of gasoline prior to the incident. Both the convenience store employee and the store's surveillance footage confirmed that Zhu Beoguang had purchased a newspaper and a lighter bearing the store's logo on the morning of the crime. The lighter with the store's logo was retrieved from Zhu Beoguang's pants pocket when he was arrested, making denial nearly impossible. On the very day of the incident, Zhu Beoguang was charged with arson. Notably, an apology recording that Zhu Beoguang had sent to AI was also found at his home. It later became key evidence in court. With all this evidence, Zhu Beoguang was convicted of intentional arson. However, the court would determine his specific punishment based on factors such as the nature and severity of the crime, his criminal history, and other considerations. Zhu Beoguang could face imprisonment or fines, depending on the court's decision. 15 days later, on January 26th, 20-year-old employee Xia Ming'an passed away. Finally, on January 31st, 10 other victims, including Liu, might also succumb to their injuries. In total, 12 lives were lost in this fire, leaving only one survivor. She was the only person still breathing unaided when rescued. Mi and I, a 31-year-old female employee, regained consciousness in the hospital the day after the fire. She later learned that she survived the catastrophe because she had hidden in the restroom. She used a wet towel to cover her mouth and nose, reducing smoke inhalation and saving her life. Now let's examine the case involving Zhu Beoguang, who caused 12 deaths and 1 injury. A year after the incident, the case officially went to trial. Zhu Beoguang was ultimately charged with 12 counts of murder, though he only admitted to unintentional manslaughter. The court determined that while Zhu Beoguang may not have intended to take everyone's lives, he had planned to end Liu Mai's life. Lawyers representing Zhu Beoguang argued that he did not intend to ignite the fire or harm anyone. Instead, they claimed he was simply trying to find his wife, albeit in an irrational manner. Although Zhu Beoguang's psychological evaluation deemed him mentally sound, it also described him as impulsive and self-centered. His defense lawyers argued that he never intended to evade responsibility. Ultimately, Zhu Beoguang admitted to deliberately setting the bank on fire. After 3 days of trial, the court unanimously sentenced him to life imprisonment. He appealed, claiming it was manslaughter, and his sentence was reduced to 20 years. The verdict sparked significant public outcry as 12 lives and 1 injury were exchanged for just 20 years in prison. However, the decision was final. Will Zhu Beoguang reform after his release? Those who let anger and impulsivity control their actions, committing unforgivable acts, often leave devastating consequences behind. It's a pity that their mistakes are never minor. Only time will tell if such individuals can truly change. In the sun-drenched land of Calabria, amid the tranquil beauty of olive groves and lush green vineyards, an underground empire quietly expands like a shadow, enveloping the entire city. The cobblestone streets may seem peaceful, but they bear witness to countless bloody confrontations between the police and a force that instills fear in everyone: the mafia gang in Ndrangheta. This is not only a place where violence occurs openly, but also a stage for drug trafficking and arms dealing, all under the blazing sun and the helplessness of many. Hidden deep within the valleys and villages of southern Italy, Ndrangheta not only exists but dominates. This gang is not just a criminal organization, it is a powerful machine with revenues surpassing those of giant corporations like McDonald's and IKEA. Their profits reach 53 billion euros stemming from illegal activities across multiple continents. But what makes Ndrangheta so untouchable? How can they evade the grip of justice and brazenly manipulate an entire region? In the village of San Luca, the dark heart of the mafia empire, nothing is as peaceful as it appears. Farmers from the 19th century turned to organized crime to survive during chaotic times. From small initial groups, Ndrangheta has grown into a massive criminal network, dragging the world into the dark vortex of smuggling, extortion, and murder. Names like Antonio Macri, who was once the son of a farming family in Salerno, but quickly rose as a ruthless and intelligent leader, have taken this organization to new heights. Or Domenico Tripoto, who ruled the port city of Reggio Calabria through fear with an iron fist and unending violence. Luigi Lagana, a strategic mastermind with a natural talent for running the mafia network, helped Ndrangheta extend its octopus-like tentacles across the globe. Each brick of this empire is built upon blood and tears, creating a power system based not only on violence, but also on time-honored secret rules. Omerta, the law of silence, has become the binding thread for members, prohibiting them from betraying their family or disclosing any information to outsiders. Violating this rule means facing brutal punishment, often resulting in merciless death. But don't let the serene appearance of Calabria deceive you. Under Ndrangheta's control from remote villages to major cities, this mafia has expanded its dominance, stifling not only the economy, but also manipulating the global cocaine market. With every successful ton of smuggled drugs, they not only grow wealthy, but also reinforce their power, impacting the fates of millions around the world. Calabria, with its lush olive groves, is now under mafia manipulation, and although resistance from the government and law enforcement continues, this battle may last for many more generations. Amidst the fierce sun of Calabria, Ndrangheta, the notorious mafia gang, does not stop at underground manipulation, but has infiltrated every corner of the global economy. From construction and agriculture to tourism, they wield control through a network of threats and corruption. The leaders use dirty money and power as trump cards to dominate legitimate sectors, turning lucrative industries into tools for colossal profit. The construction industry has become the arena where Ndrangheta showcases its power most visibly. In the early 2000s, the Emerald City project, a symbol of wealth and power, rose in the town of Brancaleio, promising luxurious apartments and top-notch amenities. However, behind this glamorous facade lies a horrifying truth. It was merely a perfect cover for the mafia's money laundering and extortion activities. Millions of euros were funneled into the project by the mafia, not only to amass wealth, but also to consolidate power, disregarding the law and justice. The agricultural sector, once the pride of Calabria, also fell under the mafia's control. Families like the Tripotos dominated vast olive groves, turning olive oil production, one of Italy's most important exports, into a lucrative revenue stream. Under the guise of legality, the mafia imposed themselves on local farmers, forcing them to bow to threats and violence. Every bottle of olive oil sold represented not just profit, but also a symbol of the brutal power they exerted over an entire community. Even the tourism sector, with its picturesque beaches and peaceful resorts, couldn't escape the infiltration of Ndrangheta. The town of Salerno, once a popular tourist destination, has now become a front for lucrative contracts that the mafia secures through bribery and intimidation. Hotels, amusement parks, and beaches all serve as tools for the mafia, allowing them to not only profit, but also extend their influence throughout the community. Yet the true sophistication of Ndrangheta lies in the art of money laundering. They disguise their enormous wealth through a complex network of front companies, offshore accounts, and fake businesses. Billions of euros in dirty money have been washed away, disappearing into the streams of legal finances, enabling the gang to maintain power without anyone easily noticing. However, the real threat posed by the mafia in Calabria does not just lie in the visible industries. It is their control over the global cocaine market that has propelled them to become one of the strongest criminal organizations in the world. from the dense jungles of South America, where cocaine is produced, to the ports of Europe. Ndrangheta has established close ties with drug cartels in Colombia, Ecuador, and Mexico, ensuring a steady supply of drugs to be distributed throughout Europe and beyond. Amidst the dark veil of crime and dominance, a glimmer of hope still flickers. It comes from people like Nicola Gratteri, a mafia prosecutor who has dedicated his life to confronting the powerful mafia empire. Gratteri's battle unfolds not only in the shadows, but also in intense confrontations on every front. One of his boldest operations took place on a frigid morning in Reggio Calabria. After months of meticulous planning, Gratteri's team unexpectedly raided a network of mafia bosses behind the construction industry. As dawn began to break, police officers descended upon the city, conducting simultaneous arrests at multiple targets. Luxurious villas and seemingly ordinary offices were all searched. Gratteri and his team not only apprehended criminals, but also dug deep into the roots of the collusion between the mafia and the economy. This operation delivered a strong blow to the Ndrangheta empire and sent a powerful message that, no matter how great the mafia's power, there will always be people who stand up to defend justice and fight against crime. The battle against the mafia is a long and arduous journey, but with each raid and every arrest, the hope for a Calabria free from the shadow of Ndrangheta shines a little brighter. In this bold crackdown, Nicola Gratteri's team has toppled some of the most bloodthirsty bosses of Ndrangheta, the brutal mafia gang that dominates the Calabria region. Among them, the name Salvatore Aquino caused a significant shock. As a powerful boss, Aquino had arrogantly evaded the law, leading many to believe he was untouchable. But this time the net tightened, and under the iron fist of Gratteri, Aquino would finally pay for the crimes he had perpetrated for decades. News of Aquino's arrest spread quickly, creating a massive shockwave not only in the underground world, but also shaking the very power structure that the mafia had painstakingly built. Criminal networks were thrown into disarray, and the message was clear. No one, not even the most powerful, can escape the law. But this was just the beginning. The consequences of Aquino's arrest quickly escalated into unprecedented danger. Mafia associates began to react violently, continuously threatening and covertly attacking Gratteri and his team. A tense atmosphere enveloped them. Every step Gratteri took was fraught with the risk of death. Nevertheless, Gratteri refused to back down. He continued to lead operations to expose the criminal network of Ndrangheta. From sophisticated wiretaps to witness protection measures, no corner of the gang escaped scrutiny. Each trial was a fierce battle, but each victory ignited hope that the mafia's power could be defeated. However, behind the facade of power, joining Ndrangheta was not merely stepping into crime, it was a permanent binding. The initiation ritual involved mystical ceremonies and an absolute oath of loyalty, binding every member in such a way that retreating was not an option without paying with their lives. Despite these rigid rules, law enforcement forces persevered, continuing to delve into the arduous battle. At the heart of the fight against Ndrangheta lies the relentless confrontation with their vast drug trafficking network. Colonel Alessandro Barbera, the commander of the Guardia di Finanza, has become the sharp spear against the mafia's drug empire. In his proud military uniform, he leads dangerous raids directly targeting drug transport hubs, determined to cut off the cocaine supply flowing from South America. From his command center in Gioia, one of the largest ports in Europe, Barbera coordinates operations with decisiveness and meticulous attention to detail. Each cocaine shipment seized is a significant blow to the financial lifeblood of Ndrangheta, weakening the mafia's power in the global market. But he knows that this battle is far from over. The mafia gang, with abundant resources and an international network, is not easily subdued. Each success spurs them to resist even more fiercely, and every victory comes with a hefty price. In the cold night, the team of officers enters mafia strongholds armed with arrest warrants and steely resolve. From the narrow alleys of San Luca to the port of Gioia, raids occur in silence and tension, with no room for error. Every move is a matter of life and death, yet they press on, determined to bring every boss before the court. Under the dominion of Ndrangheta, Calabria feels imprisoned in fear and intimidation. The people are trapped in a vortex with no escape, their lives forever controlled by the brutality of the mafia. Yet as long as individuals like Gratteri and Barbera stand firm, there remains hope that one day Calabria will break free from the grip of crime. The fight is long, but no one is stepping back. Amidst the tangled cobblestone streets of San Luca, where the darkness of the mafia looms large, a beacon of hope continues to shine: Father Pino Strangio. He is the brave priest caught between loyalty to his faith and blood ties to the ruthless members of 'Ndrangheta. Born into a family with deep ties to this criminal organization, Father Strangio understands the power and influence the mafia wields, but his courage does not allow him to remain silent. Despite facing direct threats, he decided to expose the criminal activities of 'Ndrangheta, putting himself in danger solely to end this terrifying reign. His righteous path is fraught with traps, but with unwavering faith and commitment, Father Strangio does not falter. He stands like a warrior on the battlefield, determined to bring hope to the people of San Luca, even as he confronts the ever-present fear. However, Father Strangio is not alone in this fight. In the quiet town of Pomai, Gaetano Saffiati lives in the nightmare of extortion and intimidation. For many years, he has been paying protection money to the mafia, his life tightly controlled by them. Yet when the pressure became unbearable, Gaetano decided to stand up, knowing his life might be at risk, to expose the mafia's criminal activities. With courage and relentless determination, Gaetano gathered evidence of the extortion ring, using hidden cameras and secret recordings to document the terror inflicted by the mafia. Despite the harsh threats from the gang, Gaetano remained undeterred, resolutely fighting to reclaim his freedom and that of other victims of this brutal regime. Through his indomitable spirit, he has become a symbol of hope for those who dare to challenge the mafia's grip on the land of Calabria. Yet tragedy continues in the peaceful village of Tutela, where Mario is mourning the death of his son, Gianluca. Gianluca was brutally murdered simply for daring to confront the ruthless power of 'Ndrangheta. Determined to seek justice for his son's death, Mario embarked on a journey to uncover the truth, challenging the mafia's code of silence and demanding answers from those responsible for Gianluca's death. As the grip of 'Ndrangheta tightens on the community, the light of moral authority shines through from Pope Francis and the Catholic Church. They act as guardians, empowering brave individuals like Father Strangio and Gaetano, encouraging them never to abandon the fight against cruelty. Alongside the persistent fears is a wave of hope beginning to form, and the battle against the mafia continues with courageous individuals ready to face it. Amidst the gloomy atmosphere of Calabria, where the shadow of the mafia lurks, Pope Francis has become a beacon of light, offering hope to those suffering from the pain of crime. Through his visits and strong condemnations, he has called for an unyielding fight against 'Ndrangheta. In June 2014, the Pope's historic visit to Cassano all'Ionio, one of the mafia's strongholds, attracted thousands of people, including victims and their families, who gathered to await his arrival. There, in the tense atmosphere, he delivered an unambiguous message of disdain for the mafia's brutal actions. With a resonant voice, the Pope condemned the ruthless exploitation of the poor and vulnerable, calling the mafia's acts a worship of evil. He not only urged mafia members to repent, but also emphasized that salvation could only come from renouncing crime. His words touched the hearts of millions in Calabria, igniting a flame of hope and solidarity in the fight against organized crime. The Pope's visit not only reaffirmed the Church's commitment to justice and peace, but also ignited a strong will within the community, reminding them that they are not alone in this fight. Not stopping there, the Pope employed the Church's ultimate weapon against the mafia, the excommunication. The decision to excommunicate mafia members sent a sharp and clear message: anyone who exploits faith for nefarious purposes will pay the price. This was a powerful blow to the heart of the mafia, forcing them to confront a boycott from both the Church and society. Although the sun had set behind the treacherous hills, the darkness of 'Ndrangheta still enveloped Calabria, with the organization's influence more persistent than ever. Despite many efforts from law enforcement, anti-mafia prosecutors, and social activists, the mafia's control remained solid. deeply rooted in every aspect of people's lives. The mafia's enduring presence in Calabria is not only a product of crime, but also a testament to a complex network of social, economic, and cultural factors. Poverty, unemployment, and a culture of fear have created a fertile environment for the growth of organized crime. In this context, the ability of 'Ndrangheta to adapt and evolve in response to opposition highlights the severe challenges in the fight against crime in the 21st century. Amid the tireless efforts of brave individuals like the Pope, this struggle continues to symbolize hope and the strength of humanity against the forces of evil. And that concludes today's case. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to support us by liking the video and subscribing to our channel. See you in the next video.